my channel. In this video, we are going to learn about the important experimental designs in the research methodology. So there are two types of experimental designs, that is informal and formal experimental designs. So in the informal experimental designs, we are having before and after without control design, after only with control design, and before and after with control design. And in formal experimental designs, we have completely randomized design, randomized block design, and Latin square design. So these are the informal and formal experimental designs. In the informal experimental designs, we have these three experimental designs. So first, coming to the informal experimental designs. So what is the informal experimental designs? So these designs are less rigorous than formal experimental designs. They are often used in exploratory research or in situations where it is not possible to control all of the variables that could affect the results of the experiment. There are three main types of informal experimental designs. So the first one is before and after without control design. So in such a design, a single test group or area is selected and the dependent variable is measured before the introduction of the treatment. So we are taking a single test group here and we are measuring the dependent variable before the treatment. The treatment is introduced on the particular test group area and the dependent variable is measured again after the treatment has been done. So we are going to treat the test group before once and after once. Okay, and we are going to see the treatment effect by subtracting the test group before and after the treatment. The effect of treatment would be equal to the level of the phenomenon after the treatment minus the level of phenomenon before the treatment. Okay, so before and after without control design. So here we are not having any control area. So we are having only test group or area. For example, we want to increase the productivity of an employee. So to increase the productivity of an employee, so we are going to give training for the employees. So first we are going to test the employee before training, and after the training is given, employees are again tested. So employees after training, they are tested whether they could increase the productivity or not. Okay, so here we are going to subtract the employees after training minus employees before training. The treatment effect equals to y minus x. So in this design, the dependent variable is measured before and after the treatment is introduced. However, there is no control area. We are having only test area. So this means that it is difficult to determine whether the change in the dependent variable is due to the treatment or to other factors. Next, after only with control design. So in after only with control design, we are having two groups or two areas. That is test area and control area. So these are selected and the treatment is applied to the test area only. So we are not applying it on the control area. The dependent variable is then measured in both the areas at the same time. So here the dependent variable is measured in both the areas, that is in both the test area and control area at a particular time. The treatment impact is assessed by subtracting the value of the dependent variable in control area from its value in the test area. So we are going to obtain the treatment effect by subtracting the value from dependent variable in test area and control area. So now let us see the example for this one. The basic assumption in such a design is that the two areas are identical with respect to their behavior towards the phenomenon considered. So now let us see the example. So suppose in a hospital they want to treat the patients with depression. So in the test area they are selecting some group of patients with depression and they are applying a new drug. So they are giving new drug for the patients suffering with depression. So next, after applying the new drug, the depression level is considered as Y after the treatment. But in the control area, the patients with depression are not treated. Okay, so they are not treated. So depression level without treatment is considered as Z. The treatment effect is calculated by subtracting the depression level after treatment of the drug minus depression level without treatment. In this design, the dependent variable is measured in a test group and a control group after the treatment has been introduced. However, there is no pre-test measurement. So here there is no pre-test measurement. This means that it is difficult to determine whether the difference between the two groups is due to the treatment or to differences between the groups that existed before the treatment was introduced. So next one is before and after with the control design. So this design we are having two areas, that is the test area and the control area, and these two areas are selected and the dependent variable is measured in both the areas for an identical time period before the treatment. So here we are going to test the dependent variable in both areas, that is in both the test area and the control area for a particular time period. So we are taking two time periods here, that is before treatment and after treatment. The treatment is then introduced into the test area only and the dependent variable is measured in both for an identical time period after the introduction of the treatment. So the treatment is applied only in the test area, not on the control area. So the dependent variable is measured in both for an identical time period after the introduction of the treatment. So we are going to measure the dependent variables in both time periods. Okay. The treatment effect is determined by subtracting the change in dependent variable in control area from change in dependent variable in test area. Now let us see an example here. So now we are taking a group of people who want to lose their weight. So let the group of people who want to lose their weight be X. And we are applying a new diet program. So they are going through a new diet program. So after the diet program, the weight loss of people is considered as Y. So before the diet program it is considered as X and after the diet program it is considered as Y in the test area. And in control area we are not applying any diet program for the people. So they are following their usual diet. So people without diet program. Okay, so they are not following any diet. Okay, so in both time periods they are not taking any diet. So they are following the usual diet. And in test area, so the people X were not following diet and the people go through the diet program and they will go through the weight loss session. Okay, so people before weight loss and the people after weight loss is called as Y and people before weight loss is called as X. And in the control area, the people without diet program at time period 1 is called as A and people without diet program at time period 2 is called as Z. Okay, so in order to find out the treatment effect, so we need to subtract the change in test area, that is Y minus X minus change in control area, that is Z minus A. So Y minus X minus Z minus A. Okay, so this is the before and after with the control design. So we are having the control area also, right? So in this design the dependent variable is measured in a test group and a control group before and after the treatment has been introduced. This is the most rigorous informal experimental design and it allows the researcher to make more confident inferences about the causal effect of the treatment. Informal experimental designs are often used in educational research, business research, and social science research. They can be useful for generating hypotheses and for exploring new ideas. However, it is important to be aware of the limitations of informal experimental designs when interpreting the results. So next are the formal experimental designs. In the formal experimental designs, we are having three types of experimental designs, that is completely randomized design and randomized block design and Latin square design. So these formal experimental designs are experimental designs that are more rigorous than informal experimental designs. They are designed to minimize the effects of extraneous variable and to produce valid and reliable results. So the first one is a completely randomized design. It involves only two principles, that is the principle of replication and the principle of randomization of the experimental designs. So it is a combination of both the replication and the randomization. So in the replication we are going to repeatedly apply the same experiment. Okay, we are going to repeat the same experiment on the experimental units, and also we are applying the randomization technique. That means there is equal chance of applying the experiment to the experimental unit. The essential characteristics of this design is that subjects are randomly assigned to the experiment treatments. So here the subjects are randomly assigned to the experiment treatments. It provides maximum number of degrees of freedom to the error. So it reduces the error. So now let us see the example here. So we are going to divide the 20 people. So we want to test the drug on 20 people. So we have two drugs, that is drug 1 and drug 2. So we want to know the effect of drug 1 and drug 2 on the people. So now we are going to divide 20 people into two groups, each of 10 group. And then for 10 people group we are applying the drug 1, and for other 10 people we are going to apply the drug 2, and we are going to compare the results between the drug 1 and drug 2. So this is a completely randomized design. Okay, so we are randomly selecting some sample of people from the population, that is 20 people we are selecting, and then we are dividing the people into two groups and randomly assigning the groups, and we are trying a drug on the groups. In the completely randomized design, the experimental units are randomly assigned to the treatments. This design is simple to implement and it is effective for controlling extraneous variables. However, it is not as efficient as other designs for comparing multiple treatments. So next one is a randomized block design. So in this design, the subjects are first divided into groups known as blocks, such that within each group the subjects are relatively homogeneous in respect to some selected variable. So we are going to divide the subject into groups. Okay, groups are blocks. So blocks contains the homogeneous. We are going to divide the subject into blocks based on some homogeneous variable, the same variable. Okay, so we are going to form the homogeneous groups or blocks. The number of subjects in a given block would be equal to number of treatments, and one subject in each block would be randomly assigned to each treatment. So we are going to divide the subject into number of blocks, and for each block we are going to equally assign the number of treatments. So here is the example of the randomized block design. So in the randomized block design, we are going to take 20 sample people from the population, and we are going to divide the blocks. So this is the subject, and we are going to divide the subject into two blocks or two groups. So we know that block is a homogeneous group. So homogeneous means this group has the same variable. The group people will be having same variable. So I am taking the block 1 with 10 male people, and block 2 we are dividing the 20 people into two blocks. block 2 and 10 female persons are there. And then we are again going to divide the 10 male persons into two groups, that is the group 1 and group 2. So here two groups is 5 male and 5 male and 5 male. So we are applying the drug 1 for 5 persons in male and drug 2 for 5 persons in the male group. Similarly, we are going to again divide the block 2 into two groups. So we are going to apply the drug 1 for 5 females and drug 2 for 5 females. So this is the randomized block design. In this design, the experimental units are grouped into blocks of similar units. The treatments are then randomly assigned within each block. This design is more efficient than the completely randomized design for comparing multiple treatments, but it is more difficult to implement. Next one is Latin square design. To use a Latin square for an experiment comparing n treatments, we will need to have n levels for each of the two sources of variation for which we wish to control. So here the Latin square will be in the format of the rows and columns format. Okay, so we are going to divide the given subject into number of blocks, and we are going to apply all the treatments for the blocks randomly. And the Latin square design, so we are having the output in the square format. In this design, the experimental units are arranged in a Latin square format. This design is effective for controlling two extraneous variables, but it is more complex to implement than a randomized block design. This Latin squares were first used in the agricultural experiments, and it was recognized that within a field there would be fertility trends running both across the field and up and down the field. So these Latin square designs are mostly used in the agricultural experiments. So they were going to divide the crop into number of blocks, and then they are going to apply the fertilizers on the blocks based on the variables in the blocks. Latin square is a square matrix with the same number of rows and columns as the number of treatments. Each treatment appears once in each row and each column. For suppose here we are having the 3 persons. So we are going to apply the 3 drugs on 3 persons. So in the given square matrix, so we are going to apply the each treatment for each person, right? So in the drug 1 is applied for the person 1 in week 1, and the same drug 2 is applied for the person 1 in week 2, and the drug 3 is applied for the person 1 in week 3. So we are going to note the results of the drug in the end of the week, in each end of the week. Similarly for the person 2 also, so we are applying all the drugs, and for person 3 also we are applying all the drugs in different time intervals. So this is the Latin square design. These Latin square designs are not only useful in agricultural research but also useful in fields such as educational research, medical research and engineering research. Formal experimental designs are often used in agricultural research, medical research and engineering research. They can also be used in other fields like agricultural research. So this is all about the formal and informal experimental designs. Thanks for watching my video.